You know, I've been curious about something.
Oh, I know this one. A soft cloth and some ergon seed oil.
I'm sorry, what?
You... weren't asking about tusk care? Everyone eventually asks.
Spirits, no. But that's intriguing. I was wondering about that symbol you wear. With the wheel?
Oh, that's just a family heirloom. Of sorts. Thought it looked nice, is all.
Just thought it looked nice.
I'm so sorry, Brynn. Just remembered, I have to move some things for Aurea. Maybe another time.
Hey, Seth. Watch your back with Kenrick Stanild. He's slippery.
From what I can tell, he wants to help the Enclave as much as anyone.
Then why is he only starting now, after 2 decades of stagnant leadership?
He didn't have the means before.
Teams are already working on the recovery of that chest you found.
Think we'll get lucky and it'll be the Scries?
I'm allowing myself a glimmer of hope. All the research we did says it's possible. My teams have started to deploy with the recovered gear from the Institute. Like a pebble starting a rock slide. Each team's able to clear more, recover more, and with that gear, we send more teams. Only downside is that the Eyes got us on a priority hunt for some really esoteric resources. True to form, he won't tell us why. Just, you'll be informed of the purpose when the time is correct, Arik.
Sola and I suspect he has some kind of arrangement with Seth as well. The Eye's clearly moving on something.
Is that so? I'll keep my horns in the air and see what the wind whispers. Regardless, we'll do the best we can. And thanks to you, we've got a fighting chance now.
I've been reading over those caravan logs you brought in when helping Arik.
A little light reading before bed?
They do help me sleep. You know how important that is. The Enclave had 3 secrets to their trade success. These logs are good insight into how they leveraged that.
And you would very much like to tell me about how they did it, right?
Yes, I do want to tell someone. So brace yourself. So, the 3 keys to their success, right? The first was no wars. The Enclave never fought. Instead, they made it clear with loom gates and the arcs that messing with them was tactically doomed.
So they could trade with everyone, even 2 nations at war with one another.
That was their second key. Unique products. The Enclave was the only place producing their enchantments. Try to declare a trade sanction against them for trading with your foe, and suddenly your foe has an edge you just lost.
That's a deft bit of maneuvering.
Their third key was having access to land and sea trade routes. Renland and Taza both relied on Enclave trade by land. Either one attempting to cut off caravans would provoke a response from the other. And the Enclave's north was unassailable by sea. That's why they built Cassidon's Hold.
Sharing trade knowledge is your happy place, isn't it, Kaz?
Oh yes. And do you know there's another place that's got 2 of these 3 advantages?
Where?
Your home, Calnhaven.
We don't have access to sea trade. And I wouldn't say we're at peace either. But you're thinking of our steel.
Best in the Maida. And you're the only people who know how to make it. Not only that, but while the Empire would love to put you back under their heel, they can't, can they?
No. Because we've started trading with other nations like Renland who wouldn't want to lose access.
That's peace.
So all we need is a port and we could be Enclave the Second?
Pretty much. I'm sure your leaders...
The Adelrad.
Right. Are aware of that. Probably the Empire too. Just fascinating how history repeats.
If we ever get out of here, I'll talk to my mother about this. Show her life on the roads helped me learn some things.
We'll get out, and when we do, you can say a big hello from us all.
Sev is repairing a loom gate again, is he? I know this design.
Wait, really?
Doesn't it look familiar? Just like that seal we used to repair the loom gate in Glintwood Hollow.
I guess so. Though that one didn't need me to take out a glass tail. I was a little green for that when we first arrived.
We all knew you had what it takes. Sev certainly believed in you, and still does. Just like I'm choosing to believe in him.
So,
When we first met at the harness, you were very brusque. All of you, and so on. How come?
snap decision. I was there to warn you, and suddenly my earpiece activated. Someone was watching me on the scry.
You think it was the eye?
I do. He'd made some comments about previous off-the-books expeditions I'd done, such as the one where I slipped your band a warning about the flood. So, I kept up the front as best I could.
Do you need to sneak around him a lot?
To get things done, I often have to cut through all the rules and limitations. For example, your help is making things happen. The Eye's planning something, but no one's telling me what. I'm not sure the Spindle or the Axle even know. I'd guess we're all going to be handed orders and expected to deliver on a moment's notice. The Eye always claims he's protecting the people by sharing on a need-to-know basis. What do you make of it?
Everyone works better when we're aware of the challenges ahead. I couldn't do what I do if Dharm refused to tell me how my mantle works, for instance.
No limits then? Just share everything we know.
Ideally. If more Weavers had shared what they knew before the Surge, we wouldn't have been set back by decades.
And some of you might have been able to make it past the Veil sooner if you'd had any idea how it worked. You've given me a lot to think about. I should get back to looking over these reports, though.
Hello, hello. We're fixing loom gates, are we?
What? Wait. Who told you?
You just did. But it was an educated guess from what you designed. Is this what the Eye has you working on?
You know I can't say. And honestly, I don't really know more than beyond the fact that there's a broken gate. I could do better work if I knew more, of course, but sometimes we have to fix things in the dark. Just the way of it.
My dad would tell you that's a great way to lose a hand.
You're just not seeing the whole picture. I'm sorry. I don't see it all either, but I've decided to trust that the head of the Enclave does.
I get it, big guy. Still, if he tells you more, just let us know if it's anything dangerous, okay?
I promise. You trusted me to tackle this task without enough details. I can do the same for the Eye. For now, at any rate. If things get dangerous, you'll be the first to know. Thanks again.
Tangles, as far as the eye can see. My old nemesis. Paperwork. Mom would be so proud. Registries. Ah! How are things, Lane?
Sev isn't here for the moment. You're clear.
I'll be quick. The symbol is registered to imports brought in by the Norian Order. Also, I have the location of a worksite in the Institute.
Good to check it out then. If they were working in the secret areas of the Enclave, they must have had political pull and trust.
On it.
A cave should not be this hot.
There are times I wish our forebears had cut a few corners. But no, everything still works decades later. It just works wrong.
The Western Circuit of Musing. Easy to get lost in the Institute's intricate halls.
For sealant. Waterproof joints for piping and such, it looks like. The seal on this paperwork looks exactly like the water wheel symbol Sev and the Eye both wear. Definitely the right place.
Please use more frost magic.
Tarzan mercantile markings on this crate. Sev's from Tarza.
Remember my missing runner you found in the upper city?
One of the siblings with the hidden cache. I do.
Yes. One of my group heads got a little paranoid. He's since been dealt with. Anyway, I have a conundrum. We recovered the body. Thank you for that, by the way.
I noticed there's no dead anywhere in the Enclave.
There were. Tens of thousands right after the Surge, and another wave after the Surge-born attacks before Asylum. We found everyone we could and gave them rights. Took years. Anyway, the problem now is I have a dead runner who broke all kinds of rules, and I'm not entirely sure how to handle it. The group heads need to know this happened. That's a given. But do I tell all the scouts? They could learn something from it.
If I were you, I'd get in front of this. Word's going to get around eventually. If it hasn't already. Face it head on. Be honest. People will be concerned at first, but in the long run, they'll appreciate the transparency.
Right. Let them hear it from me and the whole story. Yes, there was a problem. Yes, it's been dealt with. Might upset a few, but in the end, it'll build trust. Appreciate the advice, Brynn. Always good to get another perspective on these things. I just wish the siblings had talked to me before they felt they had to sneak around.
So, Norians.
I've been digging. The Tarzan trading company that shipped the crates you found was the lead I needed. The Norians were experts in water storage and conveyance, and active before the Surge, but disappeared shortly thereafter. Or Rather, they wanted to disappear and subsumed their identities into a series of careful fronts, cover names, and the like. Thankfully, the trade record you found led to a whole web of associations, many of whom have had dealings with my family.
What did you find out about the Norians before the Surge?
They seemed a somewhat innocuous guild of specialists, traded under different names even then, making them a bit hard to track. But as far as I could tell, they mostly dealt in water.
Dealt, meaning what in this context?
Aqueducts, reservoirs, wells, you name it. If it stored, gathered, extracted, or moved water, they were involved.
That explains the complicated valve I found underground.
Absolutely. They had specialized knowledge, which I assume is why the Enclave contracted them. Gas, such as raw magic, is a fluid after all.
How is the Norian Order related to Tarza?
As I'm sure you know, Tarza is an amalgam of numerous desert kingdoms. Before the Surge, Tarza had grown reliant on the same weather control enchantments that were used in Judea. After the Surge, both nations suffered greatly. Tarza in particular was struck with savage droughts.
Meaning folks, like the Norians, who specialize in water, had essential skills and knowledge.
I expect they were critical in keeping Tarza's many cities alive at all, a position that would afford them considerable influence.
Do you have any idea why they decided to hide?
Purely conjecture, but let's look at the evidence. We know from Sev's ring that the Norians are still around today.
It could be a trinket, or hand-me-down. But you're right that his behavior with the eye suggests they're associated.
Exactly. Now consider the Order's secretive nature. Combined, I would speculate that the Norians used the Surge as leverage to become a power behind the thrones. Take a nation that used magic to keep the water flowing, face it with disaster and drought. What kind of deals might a group of desperate rulers be willing to make, do you think?
But monarchs wouldn't want anything that undercuts their authority or power to slip out to the populace.
As I said, pure conjecture, but if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck...
How did you get logs of your own family's accounts, anyway?
I stole them.
Really?
Oh yes, detailed transactions from private ledgers. No one quite sure if you made copies or where they're hidden if you did. Better than bodyguards when it comes to ensuring one's safety. I did not leave my family under the best auspicious.
Knowing what we know now, what do we do about Sev?
I believe we can say for sure that he and the Eye are somehow related through this Norian organization. From Sev's visits to the Hold, I imagine they're working together on something, but I'm not sure exactly what else to do with that information.
I gave Sev some help collecting materials. He's definitely working on some kind of project. He asked me to trust him. Maybe it's time to ask for that favor in return.
A good idea. Speak to Sola first, though. I've updated her, and she might have some ideas on how best to confront him.
Thanks for your help, Lane.
It's no trouble at all. This is what I do, and I rather enjoy it. Did you learn anything?
When I asked Sev about the wheel symbol? No. He was pretty evasive.
Being evasive is, in and of itself, rather telling. Means we're onto something of note.
How did you know I asked, anyway?
I watch people closely. A habit so deeply ingrained you could call it a groove at this point. You were wise to finally come to me for help finding Oria's father, if a little late. I could have saved you a lot of trouble chasing after statues if you'd come to me first.
What do you mean?
You know what's most likely to get in the way of tracking down one's lineage? Family. A scholar wants to trace a family line to find connections between key historical figures? No problem. A living relative wants to find their great-grandfather using some oh-so-precious family heirloom? What a headache.
Why?
A scholar is objective. They have no emotional attachment to the family line, no sense of self wrapped up in the results of their study.
And you're saying Oria does?
I'm saying she needs to expand her search beyond Weaver heroes. She's not searching for family there, she's seeking identity. And without objectivity, her search will turn up nothing.
Aurea did jump into this with preconceived ideas about who her father is. I can see how that might cause problems.
It most certainly will if she doesn't come around to the idea that her father may not live up to her expectations.
I'll keep that in mind.
Food for thought, at least.
Sev. What are we going to do with you?
You know him better than me. Can we trust him?
I hope so. But it's pretty obvious Sev is being pressured by the Eye due to their Norian connection. And I do not trust him. Anyway, what did you learn from helping Sev?
He's either constructing or repairing something that requires exotic materials.
As I said, it reminded me of how he fixed the gate in the Hollow. I would wager the Eye heard about our exploits.
Could be.
He's a clever one, our Ram. There's really only one thing for it.
Direct confrontation.
We're going to let him know we care. Then we're going to let him sit with it. Wait for me in the hold. We'll talk to him there. Away from the others. So he doesn't feel like we're ganging up on him.